How's it, guys? Welcome to another session with Madness. This is Coach Justin, who will be helping us out, be our dummy. Today's class we are going to look at one or two fundamentals that I just want to impart to you guys, and then we're going to look at our first defensive technique and then using that defensive technique in a counter strike as well as setting up the angle into the next attack. So the first, basically the fundamental that I would like to impart to you today is efficiency. So whenever I fight, and I believe in all fighting, doesn't matter what fighting you're doing, I fully believe that you should focus on efficiency. So what is efficiency? Efficiency is not always about getting the fastest outcome, but it's getting the most highest paying outcome, if that makes sense. So let's say you're climbing a mountain. There's two guys. There's one footpath up the mountain and another guy is going to just climb over the mountain. But climbing over the mountain, although it's the shorter route, that's got a lot more dangers, it's a lot more difficult to get grips, and the guy walking on the path actually beats the guy climbing over the mountain because he just has to walk in a straight path. That is what efficiency basically is. You got the highest outcome in the quickest amount of time. So fighting is the same thing. Fighting is, for me personally, is about who can hit first the best, who can get the guy to the ground the first best, who can put on the subs first the best, who can get the best control, and that is what efficiency is about. Now, for me personally, efficiency will have basically three parts. The first one will be relax, because if I'm not relaxed, I will tense up, and tensing up makes me forget stuff, I start rushing, I can't get speed, my rhythm goes, my flow goes, so I need to get relaxation first. Without relaxation, I cannot get the third part, or the second part, which is speed. Okay. Slow is smooth, smooth is fast in jiu-jitsu, on your grappling, but in striking you need speed. Speed kills. I don't want to try to hit you really hard, I want to hit you as fast as I can, because that's going to allow me to create more force. So in the very first lesson, I think I did touch on that, about how to generate the power off of the speed. So without relaxation, we can't get speed. Without the speed, we can't get our target properly, because our timing is going to be awful. And if you can't get your target properly, you're never going to land your punches. So efficiency is key. So before we carry on with the lesson, please give us a like, share, maybe hit the notification button, and a nice little subscribe. So the technique, the first defensive technique we're going to be looking at today is just the parry. So when you're standing ready to fight, a parry is never a big movement. In the first class we said hands up, nice and high, elbows to our toes, and you'll always see I kind of look through my hands like I've got a pair of binoculars on, and that's where we're going to use the parry. As soon as he hits a jab, I'm just going to reach out and touch his hand and just tap it down and bring my hand back to my head. And the same with the straight right. Same thing, we're just going to tap it down. Okay? Now, I don't want to make a big movement, so the way to explain it to maybe make you understand it much better is, if I tell Coach Justin somebody's going to come and break into his house tonight, guaranteed for a fact and steal his TV. I can guarantee you he's not going to go out looking for that guy who's going to come steal his TV. He's going to stay right by his TV and wait for that person. So that's what we're doing. I know he wants to punch me in the face. Simple. I'm not going to go and look for his hand. I'm just going to wait for his hand to get to me. So as soon as he jabs, I'm just going to parry him down and bring it back. That's the first defense we're looking at. Simple, that's easy, but you need to drill it. Because without drilling it, you won't have the time. It's not going to hit slow, it hits fast. So if he hits nice and fast, or you see what I just did? I just parried. Now a little byproduct of that would be just to take a small step back. Because remember what we said, fighting is about movement, not just going to stand still and he hits, I'm going to block, he hits, I'm going to block, because eventually something bad's going to happen and he's going to get through. That doesn't mean that if I move, he's still not going to hit me. That's always a possibility, but the chances of him getting that right is much lower. So every time I parry, I'm going to do a small step back, small step back. Okay. Now when we move defensively and using it for angles, we've got a system. The system is as follows. 1, 1, 2, or 1, 2, 2. So in the first classes we learned where we moving forward, moving backwards, and stepping off to the sides. So now when he attacks, I'm going to go parry, parry. So my first one was 1, 1, 1, went back twice. Then I'm going to step off on the side. So if he hits the next punch, I'm going to step off to the side. Now I've gotten off the train tracks again, and now I've just used my defensive parry to get off of the angle. Okay, and that's the first one we're going to look at. So simple, just go parry, parry, and step off. Now, once you've drilled that quite a bit of times, and you're feeling comfortable with it, you start moving on to the next. Now the thing comes down to timing, because we also draw the swivel. So from the swivel, what we want to do is, on a defensive way, I want to, as this cross comes at me, I want to swivel out on the parry. So I'm going to use the parry to give me the momentum to actually create my angle on the swivel. So I'm going to parry the first, and then as that second hand comes, I'm going to parry again, and then I'm going to swivel. Whoa, I'm going to step out. The small nuances there is, instead of moving backwards on this defense, I'm actually going to move forward towards my opponent, or I will wait for him. So depending on how aggressive my opponent is, will determine what I do, but I'm not going to move backwards. Moving backwards is going to create a lot of space again, and I don't really want a lot of space for this specific defense. So if he's very aggressive, I'm just going to wait for him, boom, and on the second one, I'm going to move. If he's not overly aggressive, on the first parry, I'm going to step forward. So I'll step forward. As the second parry comes, I'll swivel out, because now I'm straight in for my attacks. So if we turn around, just so you guys can see from the other angle, if he's overly aggressive, I'm going to wait, boom, and just swivel out. That's what I want. And from here, I will attack the body, back up to the head, body, or to the head. It doesn't really matter. If he's not very overly aggressive, I'm just going to do one small step forward, parry, and swivel out. And once again, I can start attacking. We will look at the takedowns later on, because there's quite a few from those angle changes. There's always a takedown available. So we will, once we start with the takedowns in the next couple of lessons, then we will look at, on those angles, how to set up the takedown and how to get the takedown. So we look at the very first parry again. I go back, back, and then on the next one, I just go off to the side. So one more time, back, back, and on the next one, I just step off to the side. Okay, that's the most basic one. Then I can either wait for him and swivel out, or I can go forward and swivel out, and then do my attacks. Boom, boom, boom if I want, boom, boom, little ball over the top if I want. That's entirely up to you and your creativity and your skill set. Now, we're going to look at just doing a little counter strike off of the first parry. I can do it off the second parry as well, but it's not as powerful and not as strong, but it does catch guys with a surprise, and they both work on the same concept. So all I'm going to do is, as that jab comes, as I parry this, once again, I'm not going to move backwards now, I'm going to move forward. And as this hand parries, I'm going to bounce my hand off of his hand here, and I'm just going to send it straight over to his chin, because he's open here and there's nothing defending. So if I'm nice and quick, I'll land it and just say through. You see how I move forward on that strike. So as I parry, boom, I step forward, my hand just bounces, and I just push a little bit with my hip, and I send my punch straight through to the chin. I can do it on the second parry as well, but once again, it's not as powerful. I'm going to first one, parry, and on the second parry, do the same thing. Stepped forward, just let my hand bounce through. After I land this jab, the chances of me knocking him out here is quite low, so I'll always follow up with a straight and then maybe an angle change. On the first one, I wouldn't really change angle all that much. I would follow up with a left hook and then use the hook to set up my angle like we just did with the parry. So I would go boom, sender, left hook, angle change, and then attack from there again. Basically my first defense is the parry. And it's the most basic, most simple one, and it's the most common one to use. Let's just do some revision quickly. Small, not big, always small. So as he jabs, boom. As he hits the second, boom. So, basic movement will be 2 back, 1 to the side. Block, block, 1 to the side. You see I move twice on each punch. Each parry, I move. Okay? The next one was the swivel. I parry and swivel. And that's basic, easy. And then the last one was parry and send punch straight through. And that's the parry. Basic, simple, easy, and once again it's efficient. Remember what we said, efficiency is key. Thank you for joining us, and we'll see you next week.